Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Franchising Matters video series brought to you by Reshift Media. My name is Steve Bures, and I'll be your host for today's episode. I'm joined by Steve Collette, who's a founder of East Brands. East Brands is a franchise development firm that works with franchise companies across North America, and Steve's also founded or invested in a number of other brands, including several franchise companies. Steve's also been a member of the Canadian Franchise Association's board of directors for the past 6 years. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks, bud. You know what? Do you remember my first CFA event ever? You were my what's
host.
The word for it?
Yes.
You were my guide. I don't know. Anyway, so that was a long time ago, man. It's great to see you. Great to be here.
Yeah, neither one of us had any gray hair back then, I don't think.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And a few now, right?
Well, so today we're talking about what's going on in the world of franchise development and what industry insiders like you are thinking these days, Steve. So, and what you're thinking going into 2024. So, why don't we jump right in? So, being someone who's in the franchise development space, and I know you got quite a number of clients all over, what are the big trends you're seeing in 2023 for franchise development?
Well, it's the trends you got are starting to think modern. Really thinking outside the box. And you really have to tell your story of your brand. It is very noisy in the franchise development sector, and everywhere you look, there's a digital flyer for invest in this brand, invest in that brand. We're the best, blah, 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 blah. So the trends that you're starting to see, and it's working really well south of the border, is really telling your story. And how you do that is in all sorts of different ways. But telling your story is certainly something that is starting to get really trendy. Really honing in on your development process. Time is the key. You have to get back to people right away. You can't be the sales guy. You have to really look at it and think, again, outside the box for your development process. It's not like the days of just going to franchise trade shows and shaking hands and kissing babies. As being a marketing company, that it's very important to make sure that your development process stands out.
Well, it's interesting. And I like what you said about storytelling there. So we all know competition's higher than ever, and franchisees are making their investment decisions based on a company. Any major chords that you think you tend to strike when you're trying to tell a story? Is it about the growth of the brand? Is it about the industry typically, or is it a little bit of everything?
No, a great question. I think that's very subjective to the receiver of that. Some people. I think I'm a big fan of it's not so much treat others the way you want to be treated, it's treat others the way they want to be treated. And some people want information. Some people want to be emotionally driven. But so when you're telling that story, don't assume that they're interested. That's a mistake that people make. They're not interested. They're curious. Satisfy their curiosity. So telling the story of, our brand was this, but don't be scared to say you made mistakes. In fact, the ones that say we didn't make mistakes, we don't even get into business with someone unless they have a black eye at some point, right? So, and say that this is where this is where we were, this is where we are, and this is where we're going. This is the type of people that we're looking to be franchise partners with. And even the word franchisee, in my humble opinion, sounds a little bit like employee. Using that more along the lines of partnership. Because you can remember, the age of the people that are getting into business now, 10 years ago, were 20. Think about that, right? They grew up on this thing, right? And so it's when you're really honing in on it and making sure that you're just being genuine, right?
I like that.
And
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and I liked everything you said, because you're humanizing the brand, you're telling a real story, you're being genuine. And I like what you said about franchise partner. I agree with you. And I think some of the best franchise systems have that mentality, is where we're in this together. And really you are at the end of the day.
Right. We have a word that we don't, that's kind of blacklisted in our company, in our culture. We don't use the word lead. I'm calling it a lead. They're calling a person, man. And when you look at that, and, we have 2,000 leads. Well, if you have 2,000 leads, you haven't closed a bunch, and there's something wrong. But really looking at it, and these are people who are interested in the possibility of getting into business, right? They don't know you, they don't love you, or really trust you off the get go, right? So it's and when you take those small steps, and even those kind of small changes, they really make a big difference.
That's great. Well, so where are you looking these days, Steve, for your prospective franchise partners? See, I'm already using the lingo.
Yeah, there you go.
What are your best sources? Are you going online? Are you doing flyers? What are you doing?
Absolutely. I think it's very subjective to not only the brand, but the industry. You have companies that are B2B, business to business, non-traditional, is rocking, right? We just actually, Everline Coating, we just did a 3-unit deal today. John's doing extremely well, not to throw plugs. And I promise you didn't pay me to do that. But the channels that we would go with a business to business, service-based, non-traditional, is usually different than a QSR. Of course, Meta is, of course you have to be on that. But when you put all your eggs in one basket, and you say, is it Meta's fault, or is it your brand, or is it are you reaching the client that you want to reach? So the channels that you want to do is you want to do Meta, you want to do Instagram, you want to do TikTok, you want to do YouTube. You want to do direct mail. Does it work more from a B2C standpoint if you're trying to sell lunch rather than sell a franchise? But there's no real wrong answer as long as your content's good, right? You have to have good content. You can handle as many flyers as you want, And I always say that you look at it and picture yourself on a street a pedestrian street where there's 10 restaurants, right? They all have the podium with the host there, right? The host is there holding the menu. Who's going to do the best? The one that's standing there, or the host that goes, hey, guys, come on in. It's happy hour. Here's a free thing. Whatever. Hey, come on in. What are you looking for tonight? Whoever makes the most noise wins. And noise is not defined by a extreme sense of narcissism, like our brand's the best, or, it comes down to it. People buy from people. Right? You have to know that the process takes time. They don't trust you off the get-go, and you have to earn that. So all the channels that you want to do is, as long as your content is good, find what works best for your brand. But no matter what, you need to spend money on that.
Yeah, franchising marketing just happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's we see it, we get a pretty good rapport, but, you still talk to some brands and say, well, I don't have a budget for marketing. Okay, well, it's just like anything. If marketing is the first thing that you cut, you need to market. Right?
Yeah, I like that. Well, and so when you're talking with prospective franchise partners, have you found their evaluation process is different? Obviously, the economy in 2023 isn't what it was, several years ago even. And obviously interest rates are high, inflation's high. I think we all know that it's, a little more of a struggle these days trying to find the right franchise partners for franchise organizations. Are you finding the basis of decision making is different, or is it longer? Or are you just finding that it's just fewer people?
No, that's great question. I think that I wouldn't say it's fewer people. I think that if anything, and we look back at it, one of my companies, with 3 of them got pounded during COVID. No one did anything wrong. It happened, right? So COVID kind of did a reset into business, especially into franchising. The process does take longer now. We look at it, someone says, okay, I want to try something for 3 months. Well, I don't even bother. You're looking at, if you can get from the first call to deal signed in 3 months, that's pretty quick. It's usually 4 to 6.
Wow.
Right? It is. And then when you look at it, the average is 15 hours to do it properly. That's what, in our portfolio, we got dozens of brands, man. So we got some pretty good data. So when you look at that, you don't want to be, you don't want to pressure someone. And the things, someone else is looking at your territory. Come on, man, don't do that. Right. So, but also looking at, people are smart to look at the industry. How was COVID? We don't hear that nearly as much anymore. Not that it's completely gone and vanished. I mean, we're ever going to forget it. But it is in the rear view from when it, that's not the forefront of what people ask. We're recession proof. We didn't close during COVID. We don't even hear that really anymore. But the process takes a while, and validation is important. You want to make sure that when they call your franchise partners that you have that not everyone's always great, but it's and assume that everyone you're talking to, they're talking to 5, 10 other brands. We've had people that in one day have clicked on 11 different. At the end of it, like, hi, it's us again from East Brands. But so you want to make, and it's actually good, but they're looking at lots and they're taking their time. No one's diving into anything fast. And in fact, part of our job is we make sure that no one does, right? Because what happens is when someone talks directly to a franchise brand, they only tell you the good stuff, right? Someone wants to sell a franchise, wants to say, here it is. The whole education process of, it's not rainbows and butterflies. There's a lot of work to do, and the what to watch out for, right? But there's some you kind of, when you've been doing this as long as us, you can I don't want to say red flags, but when someone says, well, I talked to so and so, and they didn't say they're making a whole lot of money, all right. So if you talk to 5 franchise owners, 2 of them are kicking ass. 2 of them are, and 1 is garbage. Who do you resonate with?
Yeah.
You resonate with the one at the bottom, then we're done talking, right?
Exactly.
So, when you don't want to make a decision based on what someone else is doing. I mean, but yeah, not to go off on a tangent, but great question.
Yeah. Well, and it does make sense. Obviously, people are evaluating and making sure they're making the right decisions for them, and they have choice. That's one of the things I think everyone I've talked to has said is people are just looking around more. And as you said, you're walking down that street, looking at all those restaurants, choosing which one makes sense for you. So
that's a good thing though. Because at the end of the day, Steve, it's such a long, important relationship. You want to make sure, because they're going to go through those cycles, right? Where they do the right thing. And, there's nothing wrong with that. Whenever they're looking around, I'm looking at this brand, I'm looking at this brand. There's nothing to get offended by. It's great, In fact, we have one brand that we work with that he encourages. He goes, I want you to call all my competition and call me back. He's wonderful. He's really cool. And a big Italian guy. Anyway, but he, so it's okay to do that, right? Because if someone doesn't really want this a lot, we never use the word convince with these brands. Never, and when people are looking for franchise opportunities, if someone says, well, why don't I just do this on my own? I don't know. You called me, man. Look at these guys. Yeah, but I'm not here to convince that franchising is a good opportunity. I'm assuming that you've seen that value. But anyway, so but it's always fun, man. It's always fun.
Well, and so as someone who's on the ground every day, I'm curious, what's nobody talking about that you think they should be? Is there something that is just, out there, but no one's talking about it?
Yeah, there's a few things. Culture. And happy franchise owners.
Huh.
Not so much unit economics. You can make $1 million and still be miserable. Right? No, really. But I think that when it comes down to it, it's people push we have, if you have 20 locations open and you get 50 in the pipe, that is not a good thing. That's not something to brag about. Right? So looking at it and saying, our franchise owners are happy. They're making money. They like our culture. We listen to feedback, and the content thing. I do a lot of videos myself, Steve. And I don't have many talents, right? But it's like a one take. When someone says I want to try to do content, if you can't do it, that's fine. Get someone who can. Right. And you don't have to do everything in house. In fact, look, with what you do for a living, what I do for a living. I mean, we solve a lot of those problems, but But, making sure that the culture of your franchise system and focusing on them rather than just your growth. I think that that's one thing that lacks a little bit. Not everybody, we're lucky that our portfolio of brands are wonderful that way because we really push that on our onboarding process. We're pretty strict on that now when we go through or we're going to partner together. We want to make sure there's some boxes that are checked.
Well, that's great. I love that. And you're right. No one I've talked to so far has raised that one. So well done.
Yeah.
And the big one, which everyone's talking about as we hit the tail end of 2023 right now. What do you see for franchise development going into 2024? What do you see in terms of trends, or what are the big things you're thinking of?
Yeah, no, great. I think that no matter what, QSR is always going to do well. The companies that have shifted and adapted, like, we got one company that's leaving Quebec that's going to Ontario. It's like, okay, get ready for takeout, right? Because that's what's going to happen. So that's good. But what happens is blue collar is almost a new white collar. Service-based, non-traditional brands. We got to whack them. We got to whack more coming in from the States. They're killing it. There's one, you get lawyers that are buying painting franchises, right? Because you look at it and go, people are looking at what they're actually doing for the business is not their first decision. Is the industry great? Does it have a future? Can I grow? Can I do this? What is the service? Instead of starting here, when someone says, geez, I don't know much about painting. Does anyone really? I mean, really. So you look at it and not making your decision based on being a customer. Of course, you want to like your products, but that's the trends that we're seeing a lot and helping. People are getting a little bit more educated on, arguably sometimes more educated than the people that are doing the interview for them on. They've done their homework, right? And so that's the trends that we're really seeing, and that's where it comes into the story, the story of your brand. Every brand that's franchising in Canada, for the most part, I would, I try to see the good in people, have good intentions to grow the brand with the right people. The one trend that I'm seeing die, which is I would, in my humble opinion, I think is good. These brands are trying to master franchise every second city or province. That's dying, which is good in my opinion. So I'd have to say that you get a lot of younger people that are coming in. The younger people nowadays are just smarter than we were when we were younger, right?
Oh, you're setting the bar low, I think there.
Yeah. That's a trend that we're really seeing, and it's I'm glad you asked that, because with what we do at East Brands, we do that at our team meetings where we say, okay, what's everyone doing here? And there's a bunch of us in development that all say, here's what I'm seeing, here's what this and that, and then you can kind of look at it and go, okay, it's the data doesn't lie, right?
That's great. So storytelling, I hear. Yep, people are younger in terms of becoming franchise partners. Certainly hearing some optimism in your voice for 2024.
I really am, Steve. I think that, I try to be optimistic, but I also look at it and go, it's not just my opinion. I look at it and again, talking about the younger thing, but also you're really seeing people that are my age, maybe 10 years older, that are retiring. People aren't retiring when they're 55 anymore. No,
that's true.
So you see a lot of, a lot of people in their second or third career that are saying, I'm going to cash my chips in. I got a pension or I got some money saved. I don't want to sit around, with a cardigan on, but yeah, so that too, I just want to throw that out there.
All right. So no cardigans. Got it. Well, thank you, Steve. Always great talking with you. Great insights. I love it. I hope everyone who watched the video, listened to the podcast, enjoyed it. We're going to be talking with a few more people in franchise development over the next few weeks. So stay tuned. And thanks again, Steve. Have a great day.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.